looking ahead to the weekend as the Premier League returns, I did want to ask you about a big fixture we've got coming up. It's a pet hate of mine, but the Premier League love to do it. They often schedule big fixtures after the international break so that the Premier League returns with a bang. I think Premier League fans kind of get shortchanged because they don't see the top teams going head to head after they've had 3-4 games, whatever it might be, to build up their form, some kind of level of consistency before they meet in a massive clash. We get them more at the end of the season because we have fewer international breaks, but at the start of the season, back with a bang. Tottenham, West Ham at the weekend. We've got Liverpool against Chelsea as well. And I think it will be a good game. But listen, players get back from South America, as we know, on Thursday, and that obviously hampers preparations for matches like this. Nonetheless, on Liverpool to begin with, who many people feel will be in a title race, I feel like this is the first serious test for Arne Slot, Darren, don't you? Lots has been made about the fact. I think they haven't beaten a team yet that was above 9th in the league before they played. Obviously, early in the season doesn't really matter, but nonetheless, you can use that if you like as a statistic to kind of beat Slot with. I think he's made an excellent start. I think Chelsea aren't exactly the finished article either, but lots of people talking them up too, so it should be an intriguing contest. What do you think about Slot's first serious test?
Well, a lot of people deride the quality of the teams that they've played so far, Liverpool, but they forget that they were beaten at home by Nottingham Forest. So I wouldn't disrespect those teams too much. The Premier League is a league where the quality of the Premier League is higher than it's ever been. If you look at the last game where Fulham gave Manchester City a real scare, and Southampton also, I expected Southampton to get demolished by Arsenal, but they really did. They took the lead at the Emirates and they gave Arsenal a real game. I think that the Liverpool's record so far is not to be sniffed at, but I think they'll win. Their defence is superior to Chelsea's. Chelsea are absolutely terrific going forward, but they will always give the opposition a chance. And when the opposition has the offensive power of Liverpool, I think they'll take those chances. Jota's back in form. He's their best striker, Luis Diaz is scoring goals as well. Everybody knows what Mo Salah brings to the table, and you've got those midfield scoring options as well. Yes, Cole Palmer's going to be terrific. He'll be disappointed with his international break so far, but I think there's been a kind of unreal level of expectation now put on him given his start to this season and last season as well. But I still think that there's quality in that forward line for Chelsea. I just think until they sort out that defence, they're going to be undone.
Yeah, I agree. Liverpool do have a stronger defence. I think they're also at home at Anfield this weekend, which makes a difference. But are they as good as some people are making out? I'm convinced they'll be in the title conversation. Whether they win this game or not, I'm convinced they'll be in the top 3. Liverpool, yeah. And they won't be too far away from whoever eventually wins the title. It could be them, Arsenal or Manchester City. I don't see anyone else getting into that particular conversation, but certainly Liverpool for me are in it. Due to, if you, again, I know a lot of people have complained about Darwin Núñez, but he and Cody Gakpo have made up kind of the bench for Liverpool so far in terms of those attacking 5 positions. You've got Jota, you've got Salah, Luis Diaz, fantastic start to the season. I've always been a big fan of his. I think there were some Liverpool fans talking as if he was going to end up leaving the club, but just needed time after a very bad injury to get back to his rhythm. I've adored him since, and I'm obviously a Manchester United fan, but his approach to the game since he's arrived in this country has been sensational. Every match, the level of intensity that he brings, the desire to get forward, score goals, create, he's just on it. You can't ask for much more from a player week in, week out. He never really watch him and think, he hasn't had his Weetabix. He's at that level, and I think he can go on to even greater things in the future with his career. Because I think England will make him a tougher physical player, and I think maybe that's how he ended up with the injury in the first place. Albeit, it was a very unlucky way to be injured and get a serious knee injury. But Again, he's a player that, for a forward player, will put himself into harm's way to try and get himself a goal. He's got quality in front of goal. I actually think he may emerge from that kind of the beast that is Mo Salah to be a key forward for Liverpool. And actually, his form might be a decision maker in terms of whether Salah stays at the club. Because if he's scoring and assisting game in, game out, Liverpool may see it as a time to not offer a £400,000 a week contract. So they might think we've got enough and it's time for Mo Salah to get that fond farewell. In terms of the game at the weekend, though, I think Chelsea are, for me, favourites for fourth in the Premier League. I think Maresca's made a very good start. They've just got they know what they're doing. Unfortunately, they are the Brazil of the Premier League in that you're going to see a lot of 3-2s, 4-2s from Chelsea. Their potential to score goals is actually up there with most teams. They create a lot of chances. They've got a lot of high quality in forward areas. I think that's a big thing in terms of their transfers. All the complaints that have been made, when you look at that front 6 to 8 that they've got in terms of starters, so the front 4 in terms of the starting players and backups, that a lot of teams would be desperate to have. So somehow they've landed in a position where they've got the likes of Sancho, Neto, Madueke, João Felix, Nicholas Jackson, Christopher Nkunku, Cole Palmer. You know, you're looking at some really high quality attacking players there. Maybe they lack consistency, but because of the numbers, the volume is still there. Unfortunately, they're not great in defence, so they have to go out and score 3 and 4 every weekend. Ultimately, they're not going to do that against Liverpool away at Anfield. I don't see that happening. I see Liverpool getting chances. I see Liverpool scoring goals. I see Liverpool winning the game. So the chance for Enzo Maresca to send a message out to the rest of the Premier League, unfortunately, isn't going to happen at Anfield. I actually think it might be a tight game. Liverpool 1 or 2-0, maybe a 2-1 win, but certainly a Liverpool win. I don't think they'll batter Chelsea. I think it will be a game that is unlike the others we've seen from Chelsea so far. Maresca, you know, he's an Italian. He understands that rigid defensive structure, and that will probably be how Chelsea play away at Anfield. He's done it before with his Leicester team. You know, they've got a way of defending on the halfway line, defending in their normal position, defending in a really low block as well. He has a fluidity in terms of his tactics. I think they'll be on the defensive side of that this weekend. And it will mean Arne Slot will actually probably leave this weekend with the most credit he's had so far out of any Premier League game. And that is to say Chelsea are in this in terms of the Premier League title, the other games, the other wins that we've had. You know, they were just us warming up. So Darren, you'll be happy this weekend.
It's funny, actually, that you kind of measure success. Your last thing you said about Slot being happy because if he beats Chelsea, I am happier with Liverpool's consistency so far, because you don't get to those objectives by just beating the big teams. And we do like to set matches up in the Premier League and success measure. The barometer for success for a lot of people is if you beat the big teams, but the fact is that titles are won and lost by keeping up that same appetite for the so-called smaller teams, the teams in the bottom half of the table. If you look at Arsenal last season, who are the teams they slipped up against in December? West Ham and Fulham. It wasn't a City, it wasn't a Liverpool, it wasn't a Chelsea, because they perform against those teams. And it's the same for Slot. If he were to win this weekend, it would be terrific, but it would maintain what he has instilled in that squad so far, and their defensive work is second to none. They've got the best defence in the Premier League, and I think that is what's going to get them over the line against Chelsea.
Great game coming up this weekend, and I'm sure we're going to react to it next week on Whisper It Loudly, although we've got something special coming for you, so maybe not next week. Listen, I think that's our football chat wrapped up. We've delved into a lot. We didn't agree. I didn't think it was going to happen. I tried my best. Darren was on one.
Did you say that 06 England would beat 2024 England? What did you... I remember what I said. I can't remember what you said.
Yeah. Well, I think it's... Again, the first question I asked when you asked me this was, are we talking about squad or are we talking about the first 11?
Just the first 11.
Yeah. So first 11 would be current 2024. And I based my answer on the form of 2005-06 season for that England team and the form of England in 2024, which has been atrocious. As much as we've got fantastic individual players right now. The team in 2024 has put in some absolute horror shows. Losing to Greece last week was one of them. But of course, the whole Euros campaign was incredibly disappointing in terms of the standard of football that England showed. So
They got to the final.
no, but I said in terms of the standard of football. You can't tell me you were impressed by the standard of football.
No, but they have it. Listen, tournament football is about winning. In an ideal world, it would also be about the way you play. But ultimately, it's about finding a way to win. And that's what they did. And that side from 06 were outstanding. But they were ultimately disappointing because they didn't make it past the
If the side from 06 had the run that we had in the Euros, they would have had more of a chance of winning the tournament without question. 2006 compared to now. Yeah, but you ask a hypothetical question. You asked a hypothetical question, and then you're unhappy with a hypothetical answer. Don't ask a hypothetical question. Then see what I have to deal with, people. See what I have to deal with. Listen, we'll be back. We'll be back straight after this. We're going to do, I think, something to do with society next. We're going to talk about young women surpassing young men, what that means for young men, what it means for young women as well. So stay with us on Whisper It Loudly. That's coming straight after this.